Hello, Dalton. How are you?
Good. I'm good, Harry. Thanks.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you for joining me. So, am I right in saying that you are in China?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people would say yes. Some people would say I'm in Hong Kong, but
Okay.
it's I'm in Hong Kong and I've been here since 2018.
Right.
Yeah, I've been an international educator, so I get to travel around and teach in amazing places around the
That's
world.
that does sound incredible. Yeah, that sounds like the dream, really.
Yeah.
So what kind of got you over there in the first place, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, yeah. I When I was in university, I did a semester abroad and really learned that I love traveling, like seeing other places. And yeah, I was when I was going through university, one of the jobs that I did was after school educator. Like I ran a conflict resolution and
Oh,
sex
wow.
education after school program in
Wow.
Arizona. Found out that I love working with kids, and I had a lot of fun doing that. So yeah, it's natural that I found a job teaching
Mm.
overseas.
Yeah, fantastic. So just run me through and the audience through sort of a day in the life. What's the? But as far as I obviously speak to a lot of people in the education sector in various different jobs, and it does the general the general consensus always seems to be there's about 8 different jobs within the job.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm a learning and innovation coach at Chinese International School in Hong Kong. So, yeah, I'll have issues like an iPad accessibility settings have been adjusted on one of the students' iPads, or I'll have currently working on updating our AI guidance document.
Okay.
For all the stakeholders, but then also trying to integrate technology in a meaningful way. So it's
Mhm.
hour of code this week, December 4th through December 8th. And so I'm trying to get the
Okay.
kids coding and different, like a lot of the coding we do in primary is block based, but some of it like Make Code Arcade or something, you can
Mhm.
start a block based and kind of switch over to text based. So it gives a good transition. So I'm working on, yeah, getting the kids interested in coding this week and trying to get into as many classrooms as I can.
That's incredible. I imagine it's, it's even you just saying, talking about it in that using that kind of language there. It's sounds vastly different to like what it's like over here in England and the sort of thing. It seems a lot more forward thinking. I mean, I think it's here it's the overview, like everybody's view of it is sort of divided whether they even want to use any description of sort of like third party AI systems, but you're down to the roots of it, and it's it so I imagine it's just really interesting. So over there, is it completely, where you are, is it very much it's happening kind of thing? I know that's poorly explained.
Yeah, no, no, it's good. I think yeah, for the most part, the cat's out of the bag. We can't go back. We have to embrace it because this is the
Mhm.
future. I'm lucky to be at like a progressive school that's forward thinking like that. And
Mhm.
um there's some teachers that are diving like way in and getting involved and getting the kids up to speed on things and talking about the ethics and the bias that's involved in these systems. So
Brilliant.
um, doing all of that work. And then there's of course there's some other educators who maybe not as comfortable using those platforms. So that's where we want to provide them with like I don't know prompts or ideas of where they can get started, some easy uh, places to start that
Mhm.
gets them engaged. I find that sometimes somebody will try a prompt that's not that great, or they'll try something and they don't get exactly what they want, and they'll be like, ah, it doesn't work, it's not for
Yeah.
me. And sometimes sitting down with somebody and saying, well, let's try this, or let's give it a little bit more of a context or a role, and you can get better feedback, and then teachers start seeing the benefit of it and the power.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Is it so it's I mean, it's not magic, is it? So it's people kind of have it in their minds that it can read your mind, but you've got to give it some prompt of some degree.
Yeah, and
So
that's one thing we have maybe over some of these AI models is that as humans, we understand all these different contexts, and whereas that these models, they maybe they lack some of the deep understanding that we have about the world in general and about all the context.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
Yeah, go ahead.
it doesn't. I was just saying, yeah, just sort of just added on to it. It's funny because there's some things that it's just incredible at doing, and then on the flip side, it just fails with. So, it does lack that. So in not in I'm saying it fails. It's brilliant. It's amazing. It's fantastic. But it's interesting to see where its limitations are.
Yeah,
Especially in the sense of I love the just really really basic, but like on Instagram, for example, I follow some AI accounts, so Mid Journey and that sort of thing, and people just showing what they're creating, and it's unbelievable. But it's always, I just find it so fascinating how you can tell with a lot of them. Some of them are just, you probably wouldn't have a clue, but some of the really in detail ones where it's very very human. There's just something about it. It feels like I don't know, you're looking at a ghost.
yeah. A lot of the content that it's generating now is indistinguishable from what people are generating. I listen to this podcast, Hard Fork, that I really enjoy, and they were talking about the futurism article where there was a journalist that found that Sports Illustrated was writing articles under pen names, and the images of the authors were, I think they were sold, I think they're AGI generated, sold on a website that sells that kind of
Wow.
those images, and then the content itself was they're pretty sure it was AI generated as well. And when I was growing up, Sports Illustrated was such a big brand name, and so like a lot of great articles came out of that. It's kind of sad to see that they're using it as just trying to get as many clicks as they can, trying to put in just like really simple AI generated content. It's it presents a problem for the internet, right? If that kind of content is just ends up all over the place, it won't be the great place that I grew up with. It won't have all that like interesting, important data and information. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it's especially if a company like that is doing it, it just seems like it's sending out a really bad message. I mean, even if it is generated by AI to a certain degree, or if it's assisted by AI, I don't necessarily think that's such a bad thing. But if it's so easily traceable, then surely it's got to be really lazily done. And if it's lazily done, that's when there's a problem, isn't there? Because it's one thing
Yeah.
getting some real good quality out of it, but you've got to also put a bit of time in, and then it's another thing just using it for just as much content as you can get.
Yeah, you bring up something really important, that it's that collaboration, right? It's you have to put in the effort, you have to be collaborating with it. I rarely work on like a written piece or a document or something without consulting GPT-4, putting in some kind of prompt. But I'm not taking the output and copying and pasting, right?
No.
It's you take that, say, this is a good start, but I want more of this, or give me like, you can have it argue against you. You can say, this is what I'm thinking. What are some of the flaws in my argument, or what are some of the misconceptions with this? And you can see it from like all different perspectives, which is sometimes challenging for just one person to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's using it as that assistant, isn't it, rather than it being the entire thing itself.
Yeah.
So what it just in regards to the creative side over there, I don't know how much you see yourself. Is that starting to change? Is that starting to have a shift as well? In on your side of the world at the moment.
The creative side, people using it in creative industries and things like
Yeah,
that.
sorry, yeah.
I'm sure it must be. I mean, the tools that are coming out today are just, it's everything's going really quick, and it's hard to stay on top of everything. But so I think Pika Labs just came out with a new model of text to video, and I saw
Wow.
some of the things that it can create, and it can create like almost like it creates really short snippets. I think they're probably like 4 seconds or something, but really really good looking, and it's amazing to see where that's going, and like text to image. There's text to sound now with like music gen and things like that. You can put in a melody and have it create that melody in different contexts, like country music or
It's
EDM
unreal,
or
isn't it?
whatever you want. Yeah. Yeah,
It's yeah, it's
yeah,
a
the creation
great.
tools at your fingertips today are it's pretty incredible what you can make.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's what you're putting in as well.
Yeah.
Um and making sure that you're collaborating with it. Yeah. But some of the content, it's indistinguishable from what people are making. I think it's becoming harder and harder to tell what's AI generated and what's somebody actually made themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So just in regards to the just going back to your sort of job and the work and the on a daily basis, do you come across much, are you coming across a lot of AI in regards to teaching, in regards to, more so with the student side of things rather than staff?
Yeah, I think students are using it more than like there's a larger majority of the students that are using it than educators are using it. It would be my guess.
Hmm.
And it, and there, let's see, I there's one student who was really interested in it, and he was taking a look at this game that was made on Poe. So that Poe lets you create these little bots
Okay.
with text prompts. So it's like you can put in a text prompt and create like a little bot that other people can enjoy. And it was zombie survival. And he said he played it for like probably over an hour because he was just really interested in like the story that was coming out of it. But if you can create yeah, but if you can create that in the context of education, I mean that's so powerful when you have the engagement of the students.
Yeah.
It's there was a there's a platform called Wanda that's actually putting like large language model NPCs into the virtual reality environment. So you can go. I think there was like a Harvard University class that it was a French class, and they took part in this murder mystery. So they created all these NPCs that were connected to large language models, and they all spoke French. So you had to speak French to engage with them, and then
Wow.
you'd have to engage with these different NPCs, try to put together the pieces of this murder mystery, all while learning and practicing French. I don't know. I love puzzles, and I love trying to figure things out like that. So that would be my kind of class. I think I would be really engaged in it. I don't speak French, but maybe I
Yeah,
could
no.
learn. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you'd make you want to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really, really great. Is be interesting to see if that's, a question I usually ask whenever I have people on is like, where do you sort of see the what do you see the AI education landscape like in 10 years from now? Which so it's which is a ridiculously, you can't answer that question. It's a stupid question, but it just invites quite an an interesting topic for the fact that like you just said, then if that's how classrooms end up being and things like that, that's is that where you sort of see it going yourself?
Yeah, and in 10 years time, I mean, these large language models are probably AGI by that point. These these artificial generalized intelligence models will be smarter than us. They will be more intelligent and more capable. And so what will be our role in that? What will school look like? I think there's a couple ways that it can go. The way I would like to see it going, the way in an ideal world, these large language or these models, these artificial generalized intelligence will free us up to follow our passions, right? For
Okay.
us, if these things are smarter than we are, we can learn about ourselves, we can learn what we're interested in and follow our passions and our dreams. And
I like that.
yeah, and
I like
that'd be the ideal situation. Maybe there's a
yeah.
universal basic income, or there's a safety net for us, so that if we lose our jobs to these smarter, more capable machines, we'll still be able to have a comfortable life, I hope.
Mm, yeah, I like that way to go. What's the alternative in your eyes?
I
Let's
don't
go.
know. I
Let's
guess
get what I imagine is the more negative.
I think one thing I worry about is the difference, right? In if you have to pay for these more expensive models. If somebody has more money and they can get a better team of agents around them, and they can, then there's a bigger gap between those who have and those who have not. And I think that's a darker path that we could go down if we're not supporting everybody, and we're not doing some kind of universal basic income, or there's it could create a big gap in those who have and those who have not, I guess, would be is kind of, I could see that happening as well, but I hope that doesn't come to fruition.
Hopefully not. I mean, it's definitely something that I've had a couple of conversations about before on the podcast with just even I don't know the best way to say it. It's sort of like even on a national or a global scale, places that are just more, perhaps, developing, whereas countries aren't. In towns, areas that are poverty stricken, whereas areas that aren't. Schools that are in those areas, schools that aren't, schools that are underfunded, schools that aren't. So it'll be interesting because it's so early. It's so hard to tell how it's going to go. But if history repeats itself, which it tends to a lot, I think in this kind of thing, not to be negative, I don't want to be negative, but it'll be interesting to see that if there is a massive disparity in just general success. I think it's just because if it does start to take over so many areas and so many jobs that we don't need, then that's like you say, if there's models that cost more and models that don't cost as much, it's is that a way you kind of the darker way?
That I think that the people who are pushing the envelope, the researchers and the people who are creating these amazing models, I think they're also the ones who are worried about it, which is hopeful and interesting as well. I know that OpenAI, they tried to set themselves up as a non-for-profit at first, and they're really, there's people who are really cautious about the way it develops, and I hope they stay that way. And I know, I think it's an interesting industry because the people who are pushing the envelopes are also those people who are most informed and also cautious about creating an AGI with an alignment problem, or creating some kind of model that could cause destruction to people. Or
absolutely. It's interesting. I think going back quite some years now, I recall Elon Musk him like actually just being like, just leave it, just leave it alone, don't touch it, stop messing around. Everybody's like, I don't know, everybody don't know who specifically was referring to. I think the podcast that I heard was quite 4 or 5 years ago this now. I think it was just like, just leave it alone. You don't want to start messing with it, because when you start messing with it, you can't put it back in again. And now he's sort of jumping on it as well. He's got no choice, I suppose. So
that's true. The cat's kind of out of the bag. We can't go back. So we just have to try to develop it in a careful way. I hope that's the path we go down.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you just sort of, I always like it to be informative. Have you got any sort of, advice for sort of teachers and people who are skeptical about it? Is there anything that you'd sort of say to them if they were in front of you now?
The ChatGPT has been around a year, right? I think this is the 1-year anniversary of it. It's had such an impact on our world. I think that you have to embrace it, because ChatGPT or GPT-4 or GPT-5, it's not going to take your job, but maybe there's an educator who knows how to use it better, that would be able to provide more personalized learning for the students, who would be able to create a better educational experiences with those tools. So I think you have to embrace it. You have to learn about it. I think just playing around and trying to find a way to have fun with it. I originally got into Stable Diffusion before ChatGPT even came out, and I loved like just generating these images. You'd put in like a prompt, and the screen would go blurry and eventually like an image would pop out. For me, it felt like a little bit like gambling, right? You didn't know if you're going to get something amazing or not. And that really pulled me in. So yeah, find some avenue that you enjoy playing with it and learning about it, and try to incorporate it into your work, because I have found that it can make me more thoughtful. It can push my ideas. It can make me think about different ideas that maybe I haven't considered yet. So it can be a powerful tool. So I think we have to find a way to enjoy it and to start using it. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. That's great. So, just overall, just to sort of summarize, I take it your view is more so a positive one than a negative one of what it holds, and the fact that it's got, it's got more potential to have a positive impact than a negative impact. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think it has the potential to have huge positive impact on humanity and solve problems that we haven't been able to solve yet. And yeah, I have a general feeling that people are good, and we're going to be careful in developing this, and we're going to be able to utilize this. And though the world for my daughter is going to be a good one, that's what I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. It's I like it. I think it's a positive outlook, and I also think it seems to be the most truthful as well, because it seems, it just that from, as I'm speaking to people on a regular basis, it seems to be more accepted now, and it's not as demonized, especially in regards to, I think when GPT first came out and I started doing this I think about June time. Obviously, it'd been out about 7 months then. There was a lot to do with professors and all sorts just trying to catch the pupils out for cheating, the students out for cheating, but the way that they were going about it was really, 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 it was just it was contradictory, because they were using the thing itself to get the illegitimate work. So it was like, how are you gonna be? And it was, turned out it was wrong. It was incorrect. You couldn't tell. Like, some of them you definitely could, but putting it back into ChatGPT and saying, "Did you write this?" didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that demonizing it or thinking it as plagiarism to collaborate with an AI model is the wrong way to go. We want to show the students how they can work with it to improve their work and to improve their thinking. Of course, it's not put in a prompt, copy and paste, turn in your assignment, but maybe it's having like a reflection after the assignment and talking about the process you went through. How were you able to collaborate with this large language model? What prompts did you use? What worked, what didn't work, and how could you push your thinking using this? So having that reflective process after it would be an assessment tool as well that you wouldn't be able to use the large language model with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dalton, thank you for joining me. I've really enjoyed the conversation. It's always nice to see what things are like, especially in a place that is quite different to over here in regards to what's going on. So yeah, it's been great to have you. Thank you very much for joining me.
Oh, great. I love talking about AI. So yeah, let me know anytime. I love to chat about it.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to do like an open table thing, get quite a few people on it, and just get some controversial topics thrown in the middle of it and see what happens.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's hard. There isn't many though now. To be honest, there's not. With most of the people I speak to, it's always quite a positive outlook. So yeah, it's great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Harry.
See you later.